In a new, unhinged kind of entrapment, cops formed a special task force to crack down on catcalling, which isn't actually a crime. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel with Liberty Doll, still on the mend, almost there with all of my voodoo grandma home remedies here. I got through the last video recording without coughing a single time at you guys, so I will try to do that again. Now, if you have followed me here for long enough, you know that I started out as a broad libertarian channel and like to cover all kinds of constitutional issues, as well as government overreach and abuse of power on things beyond the Second Amendment. This, ladies and gentlemen, is one of those times. Now, this story comes from across the pond, but is not beyond anything that I would expect here in some place like New York or Massachusetts or California. We do have something here called free speech, and catcalling is not a crime, though depending on how obscene it gets, it might get annoying or uncomfortable. But there is a certain segment of the population that has gone so far as to call it that word that rhymes with grape, even though words have dedicated meanings and catcalling is not, in fact, grapes. Nonetheless, police in Surrey, England have so little to do, what with all the knife crime and alleged acid attacks and making sure no one has anything more lethal than a butter knife, so they decided to put together a catcalling task force. Meow. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't live in a city, so I have not been catcalled in a long time, but the only time that I personally ever got offended by it was if I knew it was a day that I looked like crap. What's wrong with you guys? I look like crap today. Why are you catcalling me? That was the only time it ever really bothered me. The rest of the time, I was like, yeah, I got it. I know, so not feminist of me. Anyways, as part of this task force, which lasted a full month, female cops dressed in tight-fitting clothes and posed as joggers in so-called catcalling hotbeds during rush hour traffic times in an effort to purposefully elicit catcalls. Once they got catcalled, they called in their secret specialist units that were lying in wait and found reasons to arrest 18 of those catcallers. I wish that this was a joke, but this is the country that has also arrested people for memes. So, actually, you know what? I can't even say that as if they're different than us because the law has gone after people for memes here too. Anyway, as per the Telegraph, a spokesperson said, "These behaviors may not be criminal offenses in themselves, but they need to be addressed." Now, London already did something similar back in 2023 and fined men £100 each after putting up signs warning that catcalling is now an offense. This was spurred by a woman who was beaten to death after a strange man followed her home. Murder is already a crime, but it spurred on these catcalling fines, and new CCTV teams were created to watch for women walking alone late at night, checking for possible threats nearby, and then calling police if anyone in the area looked suspicious. The catcalling fines were supposed to somehow help with that, but it cut short of full-on arrests. But this is 2025, and Surrey cops did not shy away from arrests at all. They said that the task force was developed to help protect women and girls in public spaces. The danger of catcalling, they said, is far too common. But they also said this task force would deter offenders, presumably of more serious crimes. Inspector John Vale said in a statement, "One of our officers was honked at within 10 minutes. Then another vehicle slowed down, beeping and making gestures just 30 seconds later. That's how frequent it is." Someone slowing down, staring, shouting, even if it's not always criminal, it can have a huge impact on people's everyday lives and stops women from doing something as simple as going for a run. We have to ask, is that person going to escalate? Are they a sexual offender? We want to manage that risk early. By assuming these rude men are also sexual predators. That'll sure teach them to be nice. The report says that of the 18 arrests, some were for harassment, some for sexual assault, and at least one for theft. They didn't say how many of each or how many they stopped, but the rest of the guys apparently got a good talking to and education, as the police didn't feel that they were aware of how much harm they were causing. Said one of the undercover officers, this behavior is either a precursor to something more serious, or it's ignorance and it's fixable. That's where our interventions come in, to stop potential repeat offenders or help people understand that what they're doing isn't okay. The officer pointed to real crimes like stalking, spitting on people, etc., and thought, yes, entrapping people with catcalling and finding ways to arrest them after will fix the problem, and apparently did not give that a second thought. The only reason this task force was really even exposed was because news outlet LBC joined the officers on a run to tackle catcalling. Another one of the undercover female officers said that now she knew bad guys would think twice because they wouldn't know if the woman they were catcalling was a cop or not. Which doesn't mean that they know it's wrong, it means they don't want to be caught by the police. You cannot legislate morality. That's not how it works. In some cases, these cops even stopped cars and made the drivers get out and apologize to women on the scene and then sent them off with an official warning. And if you're a woman on the streets of Britain, you can apparently also report catcallers and catcalling locations into the cops with their new Street Safe app, which allows you to even anonymously flag neighborhoods as high catcall zones. Ah, fuck. Beyond the official statement, Surrey police refused to comment. Meanwhile, the UK's Free Speech Union condemned the task force, calling it a bizarre social psychology experiment, and called for the police to enforce the laws on the books, rather than making up new ones. What a truly novel idea. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this video. You guys know the drill for all of the algorithm things. Please do them, and as always, thanks for tuning in. Stay safe out there from those evil, horrible catcallers, and happy shooting. Seriously, they had nothing else they could possibly be worrying about. At all.